Today we're going to look at Shakespeare's writing style, and we're going to break that down into different sections. We're going to look at blank verse, iambic metre, trochaic metre, prose, rhyme, the changing of word order, and rhythm, whether the rhythm is broken or steady. First, we need to know what metre in verse is. And for that we need to understand that English speech is formed by the stressing and the non-stressing of syllables. And verse depends on the arrangement of these stresses and non-stresses into repeated patterns, and this is called metre. So a syllable is when we break a word down into vowel sounds, and this is not the A, E, I, O, U. I think there are about 24 different vowel sounds that the mouth can make when we're using language, spoken language. So tomato, we have 3 vowel sounds of tomato. Window, we have just 2, window. And then to really get the idea of how to break a word down into vowel sounds, we have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So the breaking down of a syllable is key to understanding metre. So blank verse is a type of poetry that follows 3 rules. And blank verse is also called, so blank verse equals unrhymed, iambic, pentameter. Now we have the meter first appearing here. Pent for 5, means we have 5 poetical beats in each line of poetry. Unrhymed means the end word of that line of poetry usually doesn't rhyme with or won't be rhyming with the line below it. Iambic, now an iamb is a lightly stressed syllable followed by a heavy stressed syllable. So iambic is stressing the second syllable of in a line of poetry, and you keep that pattern going, so stressing every second syllable. So unrhymed, iambic, pentameter. Each line will have 10 or 11 syllables, and each line has 5 big beats or 5 stresses, and would have 5 non-stresses too. So an iambic foot is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So this would be one iambic foot: weak, strong, unstressed, stressed, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong. 5 times we have the pent, meter. Iambic means unstressed, stressed. So it has, instead of weak, strong, we can think of it as de-dum, 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 de-dum. And this has been said to resemble the beating of a heart, and that's why it sounds rather pleasant at times to listen to. Drives the narrative of the poetry or of the Shakespearean speech forward. And an iambic is called a rising rhythm because it rises into the second stressed syllable here. So what we probably are not aware of is that natural English speech patterns tend to be iambic, and we don't have to write them purposely as iambic, they just happen to be. So if we look at a standard line of English, I hope you take the book with you to school, a line many parents might have said. If we break that down into feet, into the iambic feet, which is unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. We have 5 of these, so we have pentameter, iambic because it's unstressed followed by stressed. This line is iambic pentameter, so we have, I hope you take the book with you to school. All the sense of the line, the important bits of what you're trying to say are falling on the stressed syllables. So hope, take, book, you, school. We could almost get the sense of that line without having the other words, I, you, the, with, to. If we look just at unstressed syllables, you wouldn't have a clue of trying to guess what the line is about. I, you, they, with, to. If I said hope, take, book, you, school, we get the idea. Another English, standard English spoken line could be, the ticket isn't valid for today. We break that down into poetic feet, which is lightly stressed, heavy stressed syllable, iambic, lightly heavy, iambic, light, heavy, iambic, continues for 5, pentameter, the ticket isn't valid for today. So this line here, without the divisions, as the stress is here, tick is va for day. Now we're looking at Shakespeare's words. This torture should be roared in dismal hell. Break it down. Second syllable should be stressed. So we have something that looks like this. This torture should be roared in dismal hell. The splitting, the stressing should be coming here on tor, not on this chor sound. Should be roared in dis hell. Look again at the unstressed, the unimportant bits of the line, this, be, in, mo. Again, not much sense there. This torture should be roared in dismal hell. Longer speeches now. This again is iambic pentameter. Just pause the video at some point and take a look at the lines in more detail. But we have Benvolio and Tybalt having an exchange here. Tybalt, always hungry for a fight, wants to fight Benvolio because he's a Montague. Put up your swords, you know not what you do. What art thou drawn among these heartless hinds? Turn thee, Benvolio, look upon thy death. Again, if we break it down, I've not done the divisions now, I've just put in bold each second syllable as a stress. So, up, swords, know what do. Art drawn among heart hinds. So the actor speaking these lines would feel this rhythm and start stressing these key syllables here rather than any of the other syllables. That's how that looks. Even in short, choppy bits of conversation, Shakespeare usually sticks to 5 heavy stresses, 5 big beats to a line. But the words are staggered to show that they're all part of one line of poetry. So there'll be a gap here in the printed editions to show that this line ending in endured is part of this line first spoken by Tybalt. So I'll not endure him, he shall be endured. We put that together, that would be 5 poetic feet in the iambic pattern. Now, Shakespeare doesn't always use iambic pentameter. There is a reversal of iambic pentameter, which is trochaic meter. So, light, heavy, iambic, reverse that, heavy, light. So it becomes heavy, light is trochaic or a trochee. So King Lear, famous for his long trochee line, of never, 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 never. He's just found out his daughter Cordelia has been killed, and he seems pretty stuck for words. So this is a reverse line, reverse of the meter now. So a trochaic meter is sometimes called falling rhythm, which has a downbeat feel. So obviously with King Lear, his daughter's just died, a downbeat feel. This is from Midsummer Night's Dream, where Puck is trying to find the lovers in the forest and he just can't find them, and he doesn't want to disappoint Oberon. But he tells the audience, through the forest have I gone, but Athenian found I none, on whose eyes I might approve this flower's force in staring love. Night and silence, who is here? So this now is a falling rhythm of a trochaic beat, which is dum-dee, 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 dum-dee. There are, I think, 4 poetic feet here. So this is tetrameter. So we have pentameter for 5, tetrameter for 4. Shakespeare often uses a trochee at the start of an iambic line. So the line will continue as iambic, light, heavy, but he will stick a trochee in at the beginning of the first word, of the beginning of the line, to put real emphasis on that word. So this line is trochee, iambic, 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 iambic. So weary with toil, I haste me to my bed. So Shakespeare really wants us to feel this word. So weary, we don't stress the second syllable of weary, we stress the first. And the audience's ears, the listener's ears would hear this weary sound to begin, which really communicates the meaning of the line. Okay, so we have trochee, heavy, light. We have iambic, light, heavy. We also have what's called a sponde, which is 2 beats of equal weight. So dum-dum, dum-dum. It's used in the middle, usually used in the middle or the end of a line of verse to give extra emphasis. This isn't a Shakespearean line, but it will highlight the point. So alone, alone, all, alone, alone on a wide, wide sea. We have the sponde kicking in here towards the end of the line. All alone in a big, wide, empty place. So we have trochaic, heavy, light, sponde, equal weighting, and iambic, light, heavy. So Shakespeare mixes these around at times. So we have a line here from Romeo. He says, I am too bold, 'tis not to me she speaks. He has just seen Juliet at the balcony. Juliet has been talking to herself, and he believes that somehow there's a communication going on between Juliet and himself. But then he thinks, no. This, I'm too bold. She is not speaking to me. So the line is a trochaic, is downbeat. He's just been rejected by Rosalind. He doesn't want to be rejected by Juliet again. So he says, I am too bold. And he's quite humble at this point. He says, 'tis not to me she speaks. So Shakespeare puts the heavy trochee falling rhythm at the beginning, too bold. The sponde combination here before this comma, when it then goes into iambic, 'tis not to me she speaks. So it's worth knowing that Shakespeare doesn't just write an iambic line or a trochaic line. He can mix those around, but mixing them around would somehow reveal something about the emotional state of the character. So these are examples here of poetic feat naturally occurring in our language. So away, 2 syllables, we stress the second one, it's iambic, we don't stress the first syllable. Duty is a trochaic word because it has a natural stress on the first syllable and not on the second, and something like old time would be a sponde. Just so you're aware, there are many more meter forms. We'll look at just 2 more for about 10 seconds, but you really don't need to know these. It might be worth knowing that more do exist. We have anapestic, which is 3 beats, which is light, light, heavy. Incomplete is an anapestic word. Dactylic, again, that is the reverse. It's 3 beats still, but it's heavy, light, light. Merrily would be an example of a dactylic word. So sometimes the verse can be split into anapestic or dactylic feet too. So that is meter, pentameter, iambic pentameter, trochaic beats. But sometimes Shakespeare's characters speak in normal, everyday prose. Now, prose doesn't have meter. And it's usually the lower status characters, the servants or the clowns, would speak in prose. And Romeo and Juliet, which was written round about 1594, is written mostly in verse at 88%, with 12% of the lines being written in prose, which is round about standard for a Shakespeare play. Henry IV, Part 1, as a more extreme example, is 43% prose and 57% verse. So that's nearly a 50-50 split with verse and prose. An example of prose lines being spoken that shows the "a weak slave for the weakest goes to the wall," two lowly characters bantering away in prose. Okay, now we're going to look at rhyme. So iambic pentameter usually doesn't rhyme, but sometimes Shakespeare will put in a rhyme because that means the two characters are agreeing. So Juliet will say, "Oh, now be gone, more light and light it grows," and Romeo replies, "More light and light, more dark and dark our woes." Now, he's agreeing with her, she says it's light and light, and he says, yes, it's light and light, and we're both pretty miserable. Rhymes can also be used to make two lines of speech sound more final or to emphasize that it's important. So for the line, "For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo," has a very final sounding feel to that line. It's also worth remembering that the audiences of Shakespeare's time, didn't benefit from lighting effects or curtained effects, so they would rely on their ears to hear the end of a scene. So if you look at Shakespeare's plays, usually every scene ends with rhyming couplets, which means the last two words are rhyming at the end of a line, which would then give a sound cue to the end of a scene. Okay, so now we're going to look at long words and how long words in sentences can slow things down. For example, in this bit here, Juliet sounds thoughtful and she sounds dreamy, and she sounds thoughtful and she sounds dreamy because there are long words and long sentences. So lovers can see to do their amorous rites by their own beauties, comma, not even the end of the thought. Or if love be blind, comma, not the end of the thought, it best agrees with night. So long, thoughtful, dreamy lines, short words and short sentences speed things up and can create an increase in pace or urgency. Here, just correct that. Here, it's been used to make Capulets sound angry. Look to it, think on't, I do not use to jest. Thursday is near, lay hand on heart advice. So here we have, it's peppered with punctuation. We have the end of the thought here. We have a sentence here in the first three words. Ending here, we have another full stop here, another full stop here. So pace, urgency, short sentences, long sentences can create very dreamy passages. Shakespeare often changes the rhythm of lines by varying the punctuation and the choice of words. The following lines have got a steady rhythm, so this is Romeo trying to be calm and reasonable even though he's just met Juliet and his heart is racing. The friar asks him to calm down, so he delivers this line of "Then plainly know my heart's dear love is set on the fair daughter of rich Capulet." Again, has finality here. He is definitely in love. Set and Capulet, it's rhyming. And we have long vowel sounds, we have no punctuation, so this is Romeo in control of his feelings at this point. Below this punctuation here is very choppy. We have full stops here, commas, exclamation marks, colons, commas, colons, exclamation marks. So we can just see that these lines are just peppered with punctuation, which makes the rhythm very, very choppy, very broken. But then when we look why, Mercutio has just been stabbed, which will prove to be fatal. He knows he's dying, and the punctured rhythm shows that he's in a lot of pain. worth looking at is Mercutio's speech after the stabbing as well. It actually moves, unlike this one, it moves into prose. And you'd ask why, as Shakespeare used prose for a character who speaks the most beautiful verse earlier in the play with the Queen Mab speech, the most inventive and imaginative verse you can find in Shakespeare, and you'd find your reasons for that. You know, this is a man, he's fighting for breath, he's angry, he's panicking, so the heightened language of verse is maybe not appropriate here for Mercutio. Word order we're going to look at now. So word order, the order of the words, and sometimes the word order changes to make important words stand out more. So a line would be, poison, I see, hath been his timeless end. And the natural way to say that line would be, I see poison has been his timeless end. But that just sounds a little pedestrian compared to sticking poison right at the beginning, so we get it in our mind's eye. Poison, horrible image, has killed the young Romeo. Soliloquy. A soliloquy is a long speech by one character that is not spoken to any other character on stage. It's just the character thinking out loud, sharing his or her thoughts with the audience, and they will talk honestly about their emotions. So it's a perfect way for the audience to have a genuine understanding of what a character is feeling. Important soliloquies in Romeo and Juliet are the balcony scene in Act 2, Scene 2, and Romeo's speech before he drinks poison. And this is an extract from that speech. Death hath sucked the honey of thy breath, hath had no power yet upon thy beauty. Thou art not conquered. Beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks, and death's pale flag is not advanced there. So we know that he absolutely loves Juliet. He's just about to die. He's prepared to, end his life because he believes that she is dead. And he's capable of amazing poetry. And if we contrast this to the clumsy poetry of his love talk about Rosalind at the beginning of the play, it's almost like a different character is speaking. Okay, so to recap, metre. We've looked at iambic, trochaic, and spondes. Metre links directly to the thought and emotion of the character, and by having an understanding of the metrical pattern, it will often provide the key to unlocking the meaning of the speech. Understanding the meaning helps the actor to effectively communicate the sense of the line to the audience, because it's worth remembering Shakespeare's plays were not meant to be read, they were not meant to be studied, they were just meant to be seen and heard. Today we've covered quite a lot, and hopefully by the end of this presentation you'll have an understanding of what is iambic metre, what is trochaic metre, also what is metre, what is a sponde, how many poetic feet are in blank verse, what type of characters usually speak in prose, what can punctuation reveal about a character's state of mind, and why does Shakespeare sometimes play around with word order. Also, what is a soliloquy and what does it reveal? Also not here is the breaking down of speech into syllables, so to understand how to do that and how by breaking it down into syllables you can then start to decode the meter in the line. Okay, thank you.